Coming up, that really does not say much for everybody else that you've had on board, because this woman is as bland as plain white bread. Back when I did the 6 movies that I wanted to prioritise watching during the summer, I wanted to purposely include something of the science side of sci-fi horror, because that is the side of sci-fi that I love the most, which is why I ended up stumbling across Sea Fever from 2019, because parasites on a boat certainly sounds appealing to me. But if you don't know anything about Sea Fever from 2019, let me quickly fill you in. Sea Fever from 2019 is a sci-fi body horror. The crew of the West Island trawler find themselves marooned in the middle of the sea, struggling for their survival when they find that there is a parasite growing within their water supply. If you're new here, I'm Hannah, I go by Hordes Online, and I am the head of the Horde here on Hordes of Horror. And if you're not new, welcome back. I talk about horror movies here on my channel on Mondays and Fridays, but as always, when it comes to watching movies that I've never seen before, I'm now going to go and watch Sea Fever off camera, so that way if you too decide that you want to watch this movie about parasites on a trawler boat, nothing will be spoiled for you, because nobody wants to watch a movie that you've just watched somebody else watch from start to finish, because then you're going to know exactly what happens, and I keep it spoiler free here on my channel, because nobody, and I mean nobody, likes spoilers.
Help me! I'm dying!
The whole crew on this boat are like, oh, Siobhan, you're the best student that we've ever had on this boat. And I'm just sat here thinking, that really does not say much for everybody else that you've had on board, because this woman is as bland as plain white bread, and she makes me look sociable.
Good heavens.
Let's start with the plot like we always do. The plot revolves around Siobhan, who is a marine biology student who needs to go out into the wild and do some practical research, so she finds herself on a trawler boat. This is all set in Ireland, by the way. She finds herself on a trawler boat, and I'll reveal a little bit of a plot twist in a minute because it's now set in motion, something that I will be planning to do after death, so bear with me for this. She ends up on a trawler boat, which is heading out to do some fishing, when it is told that it needs to divert its course because there is some kind of thing dwelling, or there's a catastrophe afoot. This boat then ends up in this disaster zone, and all of a sudden there are parasites in its water supply because a giant creature decides to attach itself to this tiny little trawler boat. The movie then focuses on the crew of this boat trying to figure out how they can get back home, because these little nasty parasites certainly do some things to the human body. But unfortunately, you don't really get to see much of that because, I swear you only see 2 deaths on camera in this entire movie, which is the downside to it being only a 15 rated, or I believe that's a teen rating within the US.
Choices.
On to my plans now for what I plan to do after death, because I found out something thanks to this movie, and I googled it to make sure that it was actually correct, and it turns out it is. There are a lot of Irish and Scottish fishing communities that are superstitious about female redheads, and there is this whole thing around them being like, you can't put a female redhead on your fishing boat because things will go wrong. And if you see a female redhead, it means that you are not going to catch any fish that day. So I have decided now, after death, I'm going to haunt Irish and Scottish fishing villages because that sounds like a laugh to me, and I am a petty bitch, so why the hell not? But the reason I bring this up is because our main character, Siobhan, is a redhead, and they don't shut up about it for the first 20 minutes. Like, she wears a hat to start off with, and then she takes the hat off and they're like, oh God, it's a redhead. Oh no, everything's going to go horribly wrong. You know, all of this foreshadowing stuff. She puts the hat back on and the next person is like, oh God, it's a redhead. Like, this repeats itself for the first 20 minutes until every single crew member on that damn trawler has seen that Siobhan's got red hair.
Stop it. Get some help.
Does it matter that she's actually a redhead? No, it doesn't matter in any kind of way, because either way, the giant thing with the suckers that you never actually find out what it is still going to attach itself to the side of the boat. Now, yes, this is a creature feature movie to a certain extent, because the thing that attaches itself to the side of the boat, it starts to eat away at the wood, and there's a part in it where they chip it away and they see that the inside of its sucker has like little teeth. And it talks about like, this could be a squid, this could be something else, but you don't actually find out what the bioluminescent thing under the water actually is. It's in the damn poster, but it's not in the damn movie.
Spared no expense. Spectacular. Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
So yes, this is also kind of a body horror, but it's not a full-on body horror, I would say. Like, yes, this does involve parasites, and the parasites do infect the human body, but they only really do one thing, and it involves people's eyes. So I will say that there is a little bit of eye trauma in this, but there's also not a lot of eye trauma. I'll try and explain. You see somebody with no eyes at one point, and this is before they find out what these things do. And then you find out what the parasites do, but you see it from the point of view of the person looking at the person that it's happening to. So it's kind of reined in its horror, and I wish it hadn't reined it. If this had gone for a full 18 rating rather than being a 15, I think that this would have been so much better. But unfortunately, it feels like... Have you ever watched a movie that's a teen 15 rating and felt like if you removed a single scene out of it, it would drop it down to like a 12 rating? That's how I feel with Sea Fever.
Scooby-Doo, take note.
I can't say that any of the crew are particularly likeable either. They're all just sort of like crew member A, crew member B, crew member C, the older lady on board who I recognised from being in the movie All You Need Is Death, which is an Irish movie that came out last year. It's a folklore movie. Definitely worth checking out if you like folklore horror. It's an interesting take and involves music. I recognised her in this, but Siobhan, our main character, like I said, she's as bland as white bread, plain white bread, and she makes me look sociable. She isn't likeable in the slightest. She's studying marine biology, but she's studying a very particular niche of things, which just when she pronounces it comes across as really pretentious. You know, when people are in academia, we'll say, and they are researching something that they just think that everybody else is never going to understand, and they treat everybody like they are below them. That is Siobhan in the start of this movie. And when she gets involved trying to figure out what the parasites are, she kind of treats everybody else like they're stupid and thinks that she can suddenly take over running this ruddy trawler boat. Like, little girl, sit down, you ain't a boat captain. I will say that this movie is lovely to look at. Like, there's a lot of like deep blues, deep greens, like really rustic wood feel, because this boat is not a new boat in any kind of way. And it adds to the sort of isolated location feel to it. There is certainly, it's a psychological, I'd say, style of horror, because while the body horror isn't full on, if you don't like the idea of being stranded at sea or being trapped in an enclosed location where there is little to no chance of help actually getting to you, I think that is definitely going to play into the horror of this movie. But as somebody who does not have a fear of isolated spaces, it doesn't quite work on me. Like, there's definitely things that I like about this movie, and there's definitely things that I don't like about this movie, and it seems to go in like a 50-50 ratio. In the end, I am actually going to give Sea Fever from 2019 a 2.5 out of 5 stars. It feels fair. There's equal things that I love and hate about this movie. I wish it had like fully committed to like showing you the creature and the things that it does, rather than being like, here's these tiny little parasite things that you can only see under Siobhan's microscope, and we're only going to give you 2 deaths on the like, other people will die, but you're not going to see it. Like, it's a 50-50. I love the way it looks. I hate the ending. Love the setup. And the middle is meh. It's 2.5. But my opinion isn't the only one that matters, which begs the question, should you personally watch Sea Fever from 2019? If you like your horror movies flavoured with deep sea adventures, isolated locations, actual science behind the science part, Irish trawler boats, or anything that is listed here, then you may like Sea Fever from 2019. So there you have it, my initial thoughts and my review for my first time watching Sea Fever from 2019. If you've also seen this movie, I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions are on it down in the comment section down below. And if you are interested in watching it, there'll be a link as always to justwatch.com so you can find out where it is streaming in your country. If you would like to know where else you can find me, I am also over on Instagram and Letterboxd at HordesOfHorror, where I post every single horror movie that I watch, not just the ones that I talk about here on YouTube. But speaking of YouTube, I'll be back on Friday with a different style of video here on my channel because I have been thinking about some of my favourite movies recently, and I thought it would be funny to react to some reviews that people have given my favourite movies, but who have rated it 1 star instead, because I always say, you're entitled to your own opinion. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with it though, so I thought we'd have a giggle and do something a little bit different. So, until next time, bye. A special thank you though to my regenerators here within the Horde for their support over on Patreon.